our next author, Jo Spain. Now, she asked me to introduce her, let me get this right, as the woman who bathes in vintage Dom Perignon after cleaning up her crime scenes. I don't think she was joking, but actually, in a funny way, that does sum her up, because Jo's the author of 7 best-selling crime novels. She is also a very successful scriptwriter whose latest crime series on RTE last year was a massive smash hit. And she's here to talk to us today about her next book, which is The Perfect Lie. And she is the absolute queen of the plot twist. So get ready for those in this one. She's going to talk to Lisa Howells today, who's the book editor at Heat World and Crime Monthly. So without further ado, I'll hand over.
Hi.
Hello.
That was a joke, but Dan.
No, it's not. I'm going to tell everyone it's not, because the last time I saw you, Jo, we were in a bar at Harrogate and the world was normal. And if I remember rightly, much Prosecco was drunk.
Well, I don't remember at all, so clearly it was.
I found.
I'm sure you stole a bottle and went and had a bath a little bit later. Hello, everyone, and thanks again for being here to celebrate what sound like some really incredible books for 2021. Both of those books sound phenomenal, and I can promise you that this book is equally as incredible. Jo, I finished this the other night, and I'm almost too scared to say anything because it's such a finely created jigsaw of twist. I'm so scared I'm going to blurt something out. So why don't you tell us as much as you can tell us about a premise which I think is going to bend people's minds a little bit.
I know, when you sent me those questions earlier and you were like, you tell us about the book, I was like, I can't say anything about the book. You can't say anything. What can we say about the book? But I was thinking, okay, what can I give away without giving anything away? So obviously this is a crime fiction book, is my tent, and it starts with, we meet this couple, Danny and Erin, very in love, and they're starting their day in Long Island. They live in this kind of idyllic picture postcard, beautiful place, and they're getting up, and we realize that Danny is a detective, he's a policeman, and Erin has planned this lovely weekend for them, and there's a knock on the door, and she thinks, okay, this is him being summoned for work, as he always is, we're not getting the weekend. She answers the door, and it is his partner there and a couple of other cops, and there's a moment where we look at Erin and we think she's had bad news like this before. You know, she's kind of reacting to them at the door, and she turns around for her husband's support, and behind her, Danny walks to the French windows of their 4th floor apartment, opens them, steps out, and jumps to his death. And in the next chapter, Erin is in the Suffolk County courthouse about to be charged for her husband's murder. And that sets us off on the story of the book. And we flash back and forward, and we realize that she might not have known everything about Danny's life as a detective. There's kind of a plot running through it, which involves a girl in Harvard University, which Danny may or may not have been connected to. And it's really the unpacking of everything that happens in those first 2 chapters.
I'm glad that all of that stuff is in the first 2 chapters, because then you start the book going, oh, okay, I'm in, and I'm in for a ride, and I'm going to try and work this out. But tell me, when an idea like that lands in your brain, do you think, oh yes, bring it on? Or do you think, how the hell do I deliver that? Thanks very much, Muse. What am I going to do with this information?
Yeah, both of those. I mean, it just arrived. I saw that scene so vividly. And I think when you write crime a lot, and when you read crime, because I'm a voracious crime reader, you're always trying to find the original, the new book, you know, because there's lots of whodunits, there's lots of police procedurals. But there's certain books that have struck me over the years, like when I read Alex by Pierre Lemaitre, or when I read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, where you just think, oh my, I've just been schooled in crime fiction. I need to write a book like this. And this plot landed with me, and I was so grateful to the crime gods for giving it to me. And I couldn't figure out what to do with it. I was like, okay, I have a brilliant opening. How do I resolve this one? And I was back and forward with my editor, Steph, saying this is just the most spectacular opening chapter ever. And I do so much screenwriting now that visually I could see this. I could see it happening on screen. And I just had to fill in the dots then. And it became a noose around my neck. I was like going on these long runs. I was searching for inspiration. I was just trying to block everything out. and randomly saying things to my husband like, what if, you know. And then it seemed to just, it arrived. And I will be forever grateful to the schizophrenic voices in the back of my head who fix things for me. They're cleverer than I will ever be.
Let me ask you, actually, how much did the book change from the concept to the delivery? Was it there and you just kind of, you kept going, kept the faith, or did you do a version and a draft and then think, oh God, what have I done here? And how long did it take to deliver, and how many kind of iterations did it go through?
I think once I was there because now I write for TV in my main job now, and you do not have the luxury of constantly going back and back and back on things, because you're talking about multi-million budgets all the time. So you never put anything on the page until you're fairly confident it's going to look like that in the end, you know. But there was definitely I think it was the inner voices of that previous history strand in Harvard University that introduced itself, and that layered the book. And that was with the help of my editor, because the thing with crime fiction is it's like a really complex crossword, and every single clue has to add up, and people have to be able to fill in the crossword. But sometimes you need your editor's help to, you know, layer that crossword, and they will say to you, there's a layer missing here. And that's what she did. So that's how we got there.
Oh, amazing. And it is, I mean, so it is set in America. It's your most international thriller to date. What made you want to set it in America? And how important is that setting overall to the novel and the story?
Well, now it's absolutely crucial, because none of us are going anywhere or doing anything except reading books. And I was glad. And to be honest, like when it was my 10th novel, and I've done all the other novels more or less close to home at this stage. But I'm working with an LA production company at the moment, and every time we do these reader rooms, the writers room Zooms, I'm doing so many of these, and still when I came on this, I was like, is my top on? You're paranoid, you know, when I'm in a writer's room literally every day of the week. But these guys are in LA, and they were sending us to Zoom. There, you know, there's beaches behind them, and I was like, oh, I just want to be there, you know. And then, I mean, when COVID hit, like, it dawned on me that what I had planned for the book, because the whole point was, it's not just that this awful thing happens to Erin when her husband years to take his own life, and then she's been charged with his murder later on. It's the fact she's so far from home. And, you know, like, any of us can emigrate and we can set up this beautiful life somewhere else, and we think we're settled and we're happy. But when something happens, you are very much on your own. And I think particularly with COVID at the moment, a lot of people are realizing, because, you know, I know so many of my family and friends are living abroad at the moment. And when COVID hit, like, it was okay at the start, and now they like can't get flights home. And I know people, friends of mine who are actually Australian citizens now, can't go back to Australia because it's so hard to get in there. And I was thinking, imagine if the worst thing happened to you and you actually weren't at home, and you were dealing with a foreign judiciary, and everything that was so familiar to you was suddenly just foreign, and you didn't have your little support network with you, you know. So it was important to move the story away from my hometown, where everything was more comfortable and relaxed, and just make Erin a real fish out of water.
And there are also some very timely themes in it, aren't there? I mean, obviously you mentioned Trump. I'm not saying a word. And there are police aren't as good as they could be. So there's some really timely themes in here.
Yeah, I mean, like, I grew up reading American literature and watching American films, and like, one of my favorite American films is Silence of the Lambs. I know that is an odd mission, but I am a crime writer. Like, the FBI, I wanted to be in the FBI when I grew up. But there is a thing about the American police where you never quite know. Half the world thinks they're amazing, the other half is kind of like, these guys are corrupt as hell. And their judicial system is really harsh. Like, you know, in Ireland and Britain, they have the camaraderie system. So if somebody commits a crime, they'll kind of, you know, they make friends with them and trying to get them to confess. In America, they're like, we know you committed the crime. We have video of you committing the crime. Everybody knows you committed the crime, and now we're going to send you to jail the rest of your life. So I really wanted Erin to experience that kind of, the difficulties of that. Like, and there's a lot going on in the world at the moment, but I think most of our eyes are focused towards America. And there's always nuance, you know, there's no black and white, there's grays. So Erin meets people who are, she's living in a Republican supporting county, and she's shocked. She's looking at every other person she meets, because he's as right-wing and conservative as she's ever encountered. She's not from there. And her husband is a Democrat, you know, but then he's dead, and she doesn't know whether she can trust him anymore, you know. So it's all up there, and there's questions about rape and power and money, and can you buy your way out of justice, which seems to be a big thing where she is. So I'm not hitting people over the head with it, but there's definitely topics there that will resonate with people, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a really timely thing. So it's always very difficult when a book is sold on a twist. So finally, how do you want readers to experience this book?
In their droves.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a weird one. When we were working on the blurb, we were like, okay, what can we put on this book that makes people buy it but doesn't give anything away? Because I am one of those readers who, if you tell me there's a massive twist in this book, I want to see a massive twist, and I'm going to feel really cheated if there isn't a massive twist, you know. And at the same time, I'm like, can we not just put a white cover on it and let people and read it fresh, and they don't know what's happening, and they love the character and they love the plot, and they'll be blown away because we've oversold nothing, you know. But I think the thing is, if you come to it and you realize that this book does not start in the same point where most crime books start. There isn't kind of a body and a whodunit and a mystery. There is what seems to be something happens and it's solved. There is no mystery to it, but then there is a mystery, and the whole book is about the conundrum of what has happened in the past and what these people really mean, and who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. And hopefully they'll love the characters when they're finished.
It's really is. Every one of your books is better than the last one, and the last one was great. This one is phenomenal. I urge everyone, genuinely. Is that in May? Is that right?
That's in May, yeah. But my husband brought this in beforehand, so we can start to toast it now. Just because the truth.
I wish I had a glass. Cheers. It's beautiful to see you. Well done on a phenomenal novel. And everyone, thanks for joining us, and continue to enjoy the rest of this very special event. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you. So I told you about the Dom Perignon. I wasn't like, yes, so we're all going to be out for it in our droves.